I think we can start. I'm gonna introduce y'all really quick and then I'll let you drive the car. So hello everybody again. This is week, who knows? I think it's week 6 now. This is IT. All of these lovely people are going to be talking to you today, all things IT related. If you have any questions, remember to put them in the Q&A. Whenever our panelists are ready for your questions, they will look at the Q&A box and answer them as they go. So yeah, I will let y'all get started.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Suchuk. I'm the IT director for the city of Ann Arbor. And Jen, can you go to the next slide? What I'd like to do, first of all, is just welcome everybody. Thank you for participating in the academy, and thank you for allowing us to present. I'm going to go ahead and get things kicked off. I'm going to introduce you to all of our managers. I'm going to tell you everything that we do. And what I'd like to do, first of all, is number one, I wanted to let you know that the rules of the evening, and number one is to have fun. And to go along with that, regardless of what other groups or what the other teams say within the organization, the IT department is the funnest department in the city. And then secondly, if you do have questions, feel free to chime in. Feel free to ask them as we go through the presentation. We should have plenty of time to do this. And then thirdly, have more fun. So try to, IT is not, always the funnest thing to do, but we want you all to have fun and make it a good session. So to kick things off, just generally about the IT department, we have 27 full-time employees, and we are central support for all city departments. So we are one of the few areas in the city that support all of the departments, which is quite a lot. It's really about 40 business units in total that we do. So we have 5 teams within IT. Dave Harris is the network manager for the networking team. Jennifer Grimes is the infrastructure and cybersecurity team manager. And then Marcus Davis is our help desk manager, and Joshua Barone. Josh is having some audio problems, so hopefully he'll join us in a little bit. But he's our applications delivery and business intelligence, or our big data team manager. And then Kevin Iyer, who's our enterprise applications and change manager. So given that, given we only have 27 employees, you might ask, well, why do we have 5 teams? Well, nowadays, IT is very, very complicated. It moves really, really fast. And when I think about years past, and when I first started in IT, which was a long, long, long time ago, we could really go out and we could do everything. But nowadays, everything is so specialized. And what we do is, even though there's 5 teams here, I really look at them as one. And all of these team members, we all need to work as one team. So I don't think of them as 5 different ones, but one. Because at any given time, some of the projects that we do will involve every single one of these areas. And so it's really a team effort. We have a great staff in the IT department. It's a privilege for me to work with the managers that you're going to meet and the rest of the team members. And I will tell you, and I'm not just saying this because because I'm the director of IT, but they work really, really hard for you in the city, and they work really, really hard for you in the community. So given that, what I'd like to do is hand it off to Mr. Harris, and he can tell you a little bit about the networking team.
Hi, everybody. As Tom said, my name is David Harris. I'm the network manager, and my team is responsible for all aspects of the network connectivity, physical security, and the voice over IP phone system for the city. We also ensure that the city's network is always secure and operating at the full potential with minimal downtime. The network team has a wide variety of responsibilities, as you can see by the list on the screen. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, jump in, or you can wait until the end. It's broke down into fiber optic network, the network connectivity, the wireless, physical security, the video surveillance system, and the voice over IP. First thing, fiber optic network. The fiber optic cables connect all of our city buildings, locations, traffic control. If we got to get to point A to point B, more than likely it's all fiber optic. These cables can be as short as a couple feet, connecting a couple devices sitting right next to each other, or they can be miles long, wrapping around the city, connecting between locations. The city has many, many miles of fiber in the ground, connecting all of our sites together. Network connectivity, it falls into two categories. We have our core network and we have our edge network. The core network is redundant and resilient. It enables the network to self-heal if we have a fiber cut, if we have a switch go offline. And the resilient part, the redundant part is if the location goes offline, nobody else in the city knows except for that location. Our network self-heals, redirects traffic. So, everybody works as normal, and only the site that's having the problem is affected. The edge network is the end user connectivity. There's over 300 network switches throughout the city, providing connectivity for end users. This could be computers, printers, wireless access points, any type of end device that would plug into that network switch. We provide the connectivity for it. The wireless infrastructure, a couple things here. We have wireless access points throughout the city that provide wireless for employees and for the citizens. Whether you're in City Hall, the Justice Center, or visiting one of our parks, there's public wireless available for you to access the internet, as well as the secure wireless for our employees to access the internal network to do their jobs. The wireless point-to-point is where we cannot physically run fiber. So what we'll do is we will put in a wireless backbone to connect those sites together. This provides connectivity for those sites, so where it's just not feasible to run fiber or cost effective to do so. Those locations can still participate on our network, but through a wireless backbone. Physical security access. We have card readers throughout the city, all buildings that protect our city locations from unauthorized access. In order to access the building, you have to have a card that's got to have the rights assigned to the card. And so when the card is badged on the door, it checks the system, says yes, you have ability to enter the door, and releases the door. It keeps our locations and our employees safe and secure. We have video surveillance systems. These are located in strategic, certain areas of the city where we have to keep an eye on, for example, customer service, where money is exchanged, stuff like that. So what it does is, it just keeps an eye on the city facilities, allows us to keep our employees safe, be able to go back and look at the footage if an incident occurs. It's just something that we keep in the back end that allows us to maintain and make sure that there's no issues going on, and if there is, we're able to bring that video up and see. The last thing is the phone system. It's a voice over IP system. When you call into the city, you reach our system. My team supports all aspects of that phone system, including setting up the phones, configuring the phone trees, call routing, voicemail. In certain areas, we do have call recording. We rolled out some new technology due to COVID, where we do have soft phones installed on city computers. And what it does is allow the employee, no matter where they're at on our network or at home, they're able to answer their phone from their computer and talk just as if they were at their desk. It's pretty cool stuff. So anybody have any questions?
There is a how do I access the wireless service in the city question in the chat.
Yeah, so if you're near one of our facilities, there would be a guest wireless that you would see on your phone or on your computer. If you connect to that, you're going to be presented with a splash page. You have to accept this splash page, our terms and conditions, and then you will be put on our guest wireless network to access the internet.
Okay, I don't see any other questions, so I will.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jen Grimes. I am the Infrastructure and Cybersecurity Manager for the City of Ann Arbor. Myself and my team, we oversee the core infrastructure in terms of the server computing environment. So up here, you can see a pretty lengthy list. Tom mentioned something that we have roughly 40 different service units in the city. So what that boils down to is 226 applications that we're packaging and deploying to all of our end user computers. And we have 249 servers that make up all the city services, either that staff is using when they're providing you services, or whether it's things that you guys are directly accessing, like the city website, or online services when we're talking about things like Stream, Track It, a lot of the different services that you guys might use when you're interacting with the city. The way we achieve that is our server infrastructure is run on Microsoft Windows and VMware Hypervisor. Nowadays, most servers are all virtual. They're not quite as physical as they used to be. Our data center has shrunk in physical footprint over the years. So application virtualization helps us to do that for you. One of the key things that we do is our storage and our backup. It's always incredibly important that we're protecting data, so that if there's any kind of mistakes on the part of staff or anything else, we can restore and recover data so that they can continue to have all the technical things they need to do their jobs. Our printing infrastructure is something that we maintain for staff. So obviously, whether it's at the customer service counter and they're printing out receipts to hand to people doing business with them, or whether it's staff printing things for their own tasks, that's always a big part of what we do. My group is the one that does all the desktop automation. So that's getting computers built, coming off an assembly line for us to hand out to our staff to perform their various tasks. Obviously, over the years, a lot of what we do for our computing has moved to the cloud, just like a lot of the things that you do at home. A lot of our stuff is cloud-based, whether it's Office 365. And we protect our data centers. So we have, thanks to Dave's network, we have different server rooms in different buildings that allow us to provide redundancy and to have some fault tolerance. So we have to protect those rooms in terms of things like heating and cooling and power to keep those systems up so a power outage doesn't disrupt our servers. A lot of what we do focuses around security, and this is something that has been changing quite a bit over the years. Obviously, a lot of the security threats have really increased in complexity and severity, so we've had to really work hard to keep everything running smoothly and keep it as secure as possible. We have to think about threats that are local and threats that are global. It's very interesting when you think about the fact that we are the city of Ann Arbor, so we're concerned about providing services to our citizens. But at the same point, if I wanted to try to implement security measures to say, keep out bad countries from accessing our networks, and I might try to close off that access that only people in the US could access our services, well, what might come up is we might have students that are coming from abroad that are looking to come to the university, and now they can't access the city website. So we have to balance security with providing access to everybody that needs it. We do a lot in terms of risk mitigation, so looking at where we can close things down to reduce our risk. We work very hard on things like cybersecurity awareness training and phishing campaigns. So this is an endeavor that doesn't always make us very popular with staff at the city, but we send out sneaky phishing tests where we're emulating the bad guys, and we want to educate our staff what to look for so they don't fall for them, to help keep us secure so we don't fall victim to ransomware or other types of security threats. Some of the ways we help to do that are things like dual factor authentication. So that's something you might be used to when you sign into your bank, that when city staff are signing into resources, they have to identify themselves with multiple security measures. So they put in a password and they put in other methods. So we know it's them and not someone emulating them to try to gain access to our resources. A lot of how we achieve some of the security are things like running the latest firewall products, running the latest antivirus products. Maintaining security through regular patching, updating is a big part of what we do. You know, we've got to think about all the computers, all the servers, and all the different products that need to be patched. And when you think about 200 plus applications, 200 servers, all the computers that all of our staff has, that becomes a big list. And one of the modern security methods that we're moving to is a zero trust security model. And what that boils down to is making sure that we don't just grant out access, but it's everyone is untrusted, and then we only grant access to what's needed to keep all of our data secure. And with that, I will hand it over to, let's see, in terms of any questions.
And
We
we
do have one question. Oh,
We do have one question. I'll pass it back probably to Dave or Tom to best answer. Is it possible or feasible for A2 to provide internet service to residents as a utility?
Yeah.
I'll let you take it, Tom.
So, yeah, we get this one every year. So, yes, it is possible. Is it feasible? Probably not, at least not today. So what I would ask is I can further address that question when we get towards the end of the presentation. If that's okay, I will be talking about our fiber networks, and I'll be talking about what we call our community fiber networks and what we're going to be doing with them. But the short story is today, the city can only light the fiber or use the fiber for city purposes. We can lease dark fiber to other people, but we cannot light it by law. So that's the short answer. And I'll address, if it's okay, I'll address that more, a little bit more detail later on.
Okay. One other question I see that would probably be best for me to answer before I hand it off to Marcus is someone asking if anybody's hacked in yet. And then I see another question just came in. Has Ann Arbor had any cybersecurity attacks that have caused some sort of damage? There is a constant threat of attack that we have a lot of different instances that can come into play. We very thankfully have not had things like widespread ransomware attacks or widespread outages as caused by threats. But the reality of matters is this stuff is happening all the time, every day. And one of the things that my team will talk about is we could stop 1,000 threats, and when one gets in, we've failed. So a lot of times it's trying to expect that we will always have a completely secure network all times is really a tall order when you think about the variety of threats that are out there. We do have a lot of great tools and utilities that really help that if someone was to say give away their password and all of a sudden a bad guy in China is using their password, our system can see that on its own and it can immediately lock access to the account and notify us. So there's a lot of security products that we have in place that really help that if there is threat of a breach, that the system's reacting automatically and it's put less stress on us. So we don't have to work quite as much 24/7 to address threats, but we implement a lot of good technology to help be our stewards to help keep things safe. We also have products that they come to us from places like the Department of Homeland Security, where we have an appliance on the network that is monitoring for intrusions. And it's run by a 24/7 manned data center. So if that device were to ever identify threats, it could immediately alert the network operating center and they would be calling us in the middle of the night if there was a risk. Knock on wood, that system has never gone off with a real threat, but we do layer a lot of different products in place to help keep the threats at bay. One more question that I see that's come up is, do you do regular external penetration testing as part of your prevention planning? We have run penetration tests and we are on the verge of running our most recent one, but we do like going to those outside parties to help test and reinforce the security practices that we believe we have in place and help identify any shortcomings that we may be falling short on to help us then improve and see where we need to identify best practices. We also do have, when I mentioned the Department of Homeland Security intrusion detection device, they also provide a lot of great services to help us. They do public facing scans for security threats, so they can help us identify if we had any missing patches, misconfigurations, and they help us raise the bar to keep improving our security standards.
All right, and I would like to add one more thing if I could, and everyone has heard this before. And that is, it's not a matter of if we get compromised, we will get compromised. We try to position ourselves. Nobody can stop everything that comes in. It's impossible. And if anybody says they can, it's not possible. So what we do is we use risk mitigation and we try to put the tools and the barriers in place to prevent things from happening. But the most important thing is if and when we do get compromised, it's what we can do about it, how soon we can remediate it, and as quickly as possible.
All right. I don't see any other questions that I think are for me at this point, so I will pass this along to Marcus for help desk.
All right, Marcus here. So we are the first point of contact. We support all of the computers and the printers and the devices, all of the staff for the whole city. We take in all the calls or chats, emails that come in daily, hourly. We try to make sure that we are the troubleshooting, diagnostics, solution, Swiss Army knife, because all the complexity that you're going to hear about from the other teams, they go as deep and as complex as you can imagine. And we need to know about enough of all of that to understand each one of the problems as they're presented. So if we can't troubleshoot and solve it in that first contact, then at least we can gather all of that information from the end users and from the moment, the situation as it's arising, to where we can correctly triage and pass it over to the teams that can solve the issue. We do all of the deployments. So when the new staff are arriving, we reach out to the departments, we find out what they need, whether it's computers, laptops, tablets, phones, desktop computers, applications of the hundreds of applications that we support. And again, that Swiss Army knife applies there too, where we need to know just enough about every application. So when they're asking us the questions, we can at least guide them. We do the training. There are some applications and some aspects that we can do thorough training on, and some not so much, as we have like engineers that do incredibly complex AutoCAD, 3D rendering. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to help with that, but I can definitely tell them, help them find the sources and the things that they need to get at, so they can get further down the road. We do the purchasing. There are application specialists that meet with every department, either monthly or bi-monthly, depending on who they are. And they capture the kind of things that we need to know about. Are we supporting them, what they need, what kind of growth they have. We have one department that is explosively growing, and their needs are varied and many. And especially, as you all can imagine, even just going to the grocery store these days, the supply chain issues are very vivid and easily replicated at any scale. So we try to make sure we're purchasing this equipment, finding the right kind of equipment, and making sure that our network is not too complex. We want to make sure we have enough hardware out there for everyone to use, but it's not every kind of possible iteration. I'm sure you can imagine if you had 50 different kinds of laptop, how hard that would be to figure out if it's a hardware issue or a software issue or user training or home Wi-Fi. So working with the infrastructure team to make sure that we minimize those kind of varieties and purchase responsibly in a way to where we can get enough computers to where that kind of model stays valid through the whole network, and we don't have to cycle through it so quickly. And we can't buy like 4,000 computers, because by the time I get 4,000 computers out, that model's already gone and probably obsolete. We do the hardware and software asset management. So every single tablet, phone, computer, oversized monitor, things that have a certain value, cost, we will track. We know exactly who has it. We know where it is, the serial numbers. We can do troubleshooting. We can even lock phones if someone, unfortunately it happens where you leave a piece of equipment in your vehicle gets broken into and the devices are gone. We can lock them, make them unusable. Basically, they're just a device now that has to be completely reloaded, and even work with the vendor to try to track it down. Yeah, we are definitely incredibly busy. You would think 2 years down into the pandemic, and now that things are shifting yet again, we would have settled in, know that technology has only increased, and our jobs have just steadily increased and got even more busy. It's really amazing. Yeah, so we're definitely not infrastructure or application, so I don't have hours of talk, but I can definitely help anyone with almost any issue when they call, or get you the help.
And we have a question, Marcus.
Yeah, let me see. Oh, yeah, okay. So there are.
Jen, hold on, Jen,
6.
did you want to? The question is how many people work at the help desk? I'm not sure if everybody can see that, but.
No, they can't see that. We need to read those out loud for them.
So we have 6 employees at the help desk to handle all of those calls and emails. We usually average about 1,100 tickets a month through the 6 of us, and those are not solved 1,100. Those are the tickets that we get, and we solve as many as we can, but then we pass them on to the appropriate team as needed. But hopefully we solve as many as we can, because the other teams are already doing everything else, as you will find out.
Okay, great. Thanks, Marcus.
Oh,
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Oh, there's Josh.
Yeah.
All right, audio issues have been solved. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. My name is Joshua Barone. I am the Applications Delivery and Business Intelligence Manager. So I've been at the city for just about 16 years, and during that 16 years, we've seen the actual city staff reduced by about 27%. And that's been done primarily through the use of technology and the expansion of technology and applications to really do a lot of tasks that were done by individuals before. So anything that the internal systems, the internal service units are doing day-to-day stuff, whether it's paying vendors, paying employees, filling a pothole, running police calls or fire calls. My group manages all of the software that supports all of those units. So here you can see that in some organizations, they choose one large system. A lot of times they're called ERPs, or Enterprise Resource Planning Systems. That is not the way we are designed. We've chosen to allow the individual service units to pick the best of breed functionality, the applications that suit their needs the best. And then we really focus on the back end and integrating those systems together. The city is a very complicated organization with very complicated service units, and each unit has intricacies that really they need to have their own software applications to meet those needs. And we really focus on the back end of making sure those all tie together and that there are no cracks that happen between the software systems. Some of our primary responsibilities: software and system implementation. The most recent one we've done on this is Energov. This is a product by Tyler. For those of you who've been around the city for a while, you may be familiar with the product Trackit or eTrackit. This system, which we started rolling out last spring, this system replaces that. It's for our permitting and land management software. So we tend to try to focus on to get a minimum of about 5 years before we start considering replacing software. It's a fairly large undertaking from an implementation perspective. We basically start with requirements gathering sessions with our end users. A lot of times we look at system deficiencies in the existing systems, and then we have to create an RFP, put that RFP out for bid, go through all of the different responses, go through vendor demos, and then we actually go through, once we select a vendor, we go through the implementation, which can oftentimes be very painful. All told, it's about 18 months to 2 years from the start to when we actually roll it out. So it's a pretty large undertaking, which is why we want to get 5 to 10 years out of each one of these systems that we select. So additionally, we do vendor management. This includes contract management. We act a lot of times as the liaison between our attorney's office and the vendor. We'll negotiate amendments and extensions of contracts, stuff like that. Business process improvement. This is one of the funner parts of our job, where we actually a lot of times will embed ourselves in the service units, and we'll just listen to what it is that they're having issues with. Sometimes we can use software and technology to improve those, and sometimes we can't, but we're always there to listen and try to improve process wherever we can. On top of that, as part of our governance process, we meet with each one of our different groups on periodic occasions. Sometimes it's every couple months, sometimes it's quarterly. And during those meetings, it's really a chance for us as IT to kind of talk about the things that we've done, the things that are upcoming up next on our workload, and things that are parking lot items or things that we don't have necessarily the bandwidth to take on yet. And that really gives the business the opportunity to shift priority. Priority is constantly shifting in technology, as I'm sure lots of you know, and most of my colleagues will attest to. And that really gives us a chance to reset ourselves every so often, because we're going down one direction, but maybe we should be headed down a different one. Project management is another skill that we do. Systems integration we kind of talked about. We do a lot of this actually on the back end, where we have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 30 jobs that run nightly that are integrating all of our various systems between one another. Primarily, a lot of them work with our financial system. So we collect cash and revenue through about 8 different systems, and all of that money comes through and in nightly jobs gets integrated back into the city's main financial system. We do occasionally do custom development. It is certainly not what I would consider a strong suit of ours. It's not something that we try to do, because the problem with custom development is then you're on the hook to always be fixing it and always be changing it as technology evolves. But we do it. It tends to be more in the systems integration stuff, or boutique programs that there's really nothing out there. So we'll dive in and build something like that specific to users' needs. And last but not least is business intelligence. This is a relatively new area for us that we're diving into. We purchased a product called Yellowfin, and we just hired the city's first data analyst last year. He's on my team. And we're very excited to really move in and explore this direction. So next slide. This is just some examples of some of the different areas, both internal and external, that we support. So work order management system, as I mentioned, cleaning potholes, filling potholes, pruning trees, flushing hydrants, that type of stuff runs through that. Finance, making sure that we're paying our bills and receiving, getting payments back for us. Human resources, this includes dealing with our benefits providers, safety services, police and fire, the records management system, as well as dispatch for both of those areas. Records management, computer-aided dispatch. The legal department manages their case management system through us. Resource planning, which is the inspections unit. This is part of the Intergov that I mentioned earlier. Water and wastewater functions, capital improvement plan. Some of the external agencies and vendors that we deal with, state of Michigan, federal government. Chase is the city's bank, and so we do a lot with payroll, taxes, different things like that. 4Up, if you've ever golfed at either of the golf courses, that is the software that runs the point of sale, as well as the tee time reservations for both of the Huron Hills and Leslie Park. Benefits providers, so Blue Cross Blue Shield, Delta, Express Scripts, IMED, all of those, we're constantly sending files back and forth with them to make sure that everybody is up to date. And then occasionally we will do work with outside contractors. Next slide, please. And of course, we deal with the public, the great folks like you guys who deal with us. Energov, which you mentioned, Stream. Stream is the citizen portal where you can go and apply for certain kinds of licenses as well as permits. Utility billing, so this would be like water. Aquahawk, I believe, is the software that we use for water billing as well as water consumption. Parks and Recs class registration, this would be Civic Rec, or that system has been out there for quite a few years. Legislative management, Legistar, e-comment, this gives folks the ability to see what's coming up on the next council agenda, as well as be able to comment on it. A2Fix-It is the ability for you folks to enter any issues of work that may need work around the city. And it's a great mobile app that we've had for about 7 or 8 years, and it's really done great things for us. Supplier portal, permitting and inspections we mentioned, licensing, golf course I mentioned, water consumption. And then the last there is A2 Open Book. And this is something that we developed several years ago, but it's basically a look at the city's finances, and it gives people the ability to go out, see where the city is spending its money, both by vendor as well as by group within the city. And you can download that information and play with it however you want to. But it's really neat. A lot of folks use it if they want to see how a certain vendor, how much money we've spent with a certain vendor. This gives you the ability to go out and take a look at that. It's really kind of our way of opening up the city's checkbooks for everybody to view. And then the last slide, please. And then this is just we mentioned business intelligence and how we're sort of in the early stages of this. We have a few groups that have really kind of have accepted it, and we're really working with them. This happens to be from the fire dashboard, and the graph there on the right shows all incidents over a period of time, color coded based on the type of incident it is. And then the one next to that is the fire training for hours over time. So this is basically, we want to make sure that the fire department has set a goal for training of their officers and firefighters. And this allows the fire management staff to know where they are relative to where their goals are. So we're very excited about this. And excuse me, as I said, we just hired our first data analyst, and we have lots of engagements upcoming, and we're excuse me, very excited to see where we can take this in the next few years. So any questions for me?
Yeah, I'd like to add something about the business intelligence platform. This is, this is very strategic for us, something that we put in place. The city you saw the applications that we have a ton of data. And really the goal for this platform is to really take that data and really put it in a form so we can deliver it back to the business units so they can use that data to make good business decisions. Anybody can make a decision about something, but the more information you have, the better equipped you are going to be to make a business decision. So we will be taking the data that we have and the data that we collect, and we will continue to feed it back to the business units internally, but at the same time, we're also going to be delivering more data to the public in the future as well. So, and this platform will allow us to do it. And it actually has been in place a couple of years, and Josh and his team have been doing a great job at really providing some dashboards and metrics over to our business units that really paint a picture of how their units are performing. So.
All right, my turn.
Yep.
Again, I'm Kevin Iyer. I'm the Technology and Change Manager. I oversee the enterprise applications for the city, and I work closely with Josh as well. So the enterprise systems that we have a geographic information system, a2gov.org, which is the city's website. We have a content management system called OnBase, where we store all of our files. A2 Central is our intranet site for city staff. We have an enterprise calendaring system, and we also do business process engineering. Josh had touched on that as well. The technology is everywhere, and it's crucial for business operations. Our value really comes through thoroughly understanding the business operations for each of the lines of businesses that the city has, and being able to really apply and optimize the technology that they use and that we have. And Josh touched on how the workforce has shrunk at the city over the time that both he and I have been here. And even prior to that, there was a reorganization roughly 17 years ago where the workforce was shrunk nearly in half, and they were able to do that largely because of the use of technology. So we're continuing to optimize systems and really just ensuring that we're realizing all the operational efficiencies and getting the most value out of those systems. The one thing that's not listed here that we've been partnering with the U of M School of Information for the past 5 years is there's a program that they have called the Citizen Interaction Design Program. And really the goal of that program is for students and faculty to work with government agencies to find ways to improve how citizens interact with local government. And we've done probably 20 to 30 projects with them. A lot of them are usability. So we have a particular task or application we want a team to look at and look for improvement opportunities. One of the things that, or we have a particular business problem that we need, that we want additional thoughts on how to solve. One of the tools that came out of this program, it's called the Election Day Line Tracker. So it basically gives citizens and voters the ability to check the wait time at their precincts before going to vote. That has been very successful. The clerk's office won a national award for that tool, and we continue to use it. We will continue to use it in future elections. All right, next slide. Thank you. So the Geographic Information System, GIS system, it's really a framework for gathering, managing, and analyzing spatial information. And we have essentially all city assets represented in this system. Planning data, zoning, parcels, all city assets. So whether it's the storm sewer, road segments, sanitary and storm systems, trees, every city tree is represented in the system. And then all of the signs throughout the city, as well as the signal system. So in addition to representing those in the GIS system, there are other systems that sit on top of that that allow for maintenance of those assets that are represented in the system. And this is really valuable because it gives us a way to look at a particular asset, so say a road segment, and see all of the maintenance that has been done on that. And that's helpful because it gives us information for our capital improvement process to help make decisions to determine what assets need to be replaced. Next slide. Thank you. a2gov.org, so the city's website. It's comprised mainly of department sites. We have a decentralized web editing community at the city, so subject matter experts in each of the departments is responsible for managing the content on the particular sites. It includes, on A2Gov, that we have maps, GIS data, crime data, snow plowing. You can see where the plows are and if they've been to your street. We have a data catalog, which has data sets, both spatial in nature, and then data sets such as like permits and site plans and whatnot. The city code is available through there. The budget and the budget guide. Josh had mentioned A2 Open Book. Property assessment information is available through A2Gov. Public meetings, agendas, and minutes, as well as the videos to go along with that. We have a enterprise events calendar, so you can see all of the city events, whether they be through the clerk's office or through the Parks and Recreation department. Planning projects and permits, and the capital improvement plan. Next slide, please. A2 Fix-It, which Josh had touched on. Water bill presentment and payments, consumption data, FOIA requests. One interesting thing about the FOIA requests, before there was the ability to do a FOIA request online, it was a form or an email that would get sent. And interestingly enough, one of the most FOIA things was the FOIA log. People wanted to see what people were FOIAing. So in addition to enabling the ability to make a request online, we also publish all of those requests so that people can see real time what people are asking for. A2 Open City Hall, which is a public engagement platform. E-comment, Josh had touched on. There's emergency alerts that you can sign up for. Email notifications across the website. It's the topics are specific to the areas of the website that you're on, where you can subscribe to those. road closures, a road closure map, and we also partner with Waze as part of their Connected Citizen program. And I did mention the election day line information already. One interesting fact, the Parks and Recreation website gets about a third of the overall traffic. So we like to put emphasis on that because people use that heavily to find recreational opportunities in Ann Arbor.
That's me, Kevin. That's me. That's
okay.
Well, I wanted to add a couple things unless there's any questions. One is
I actually had one more thing I wanted to ask before.
Ahead,
sorry, Tom. So in our last website redesign, we focused primarily on search engine optimization. You know, we saw the trend increasing for how people were finding information on the city's website. Organic search results really account for 75% of the website visitors. But what I really wanted to ask, and feel free to put your questions in or your comments in the chat, but what don't we have on the city's website that you'd like to see? And you can think about it and go ahead and put those in anytime. Thank you. Sorry, Tom, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so I was going to mention that we are redesigning the website. So we have a project open to redesign the website. So that's going to take place. And then there's Kevin mentioned the data catalog and the data sets that we have out there. A lot of them are pretty static. And I know that Josh is working on an initiative with the U of M School of Information on a new data catalog that will be more query based, that will allow you to go in and put your parameters in and really spit out reports that you would like to see, as opposed to just taking what we're giving you. So our goal in the future is to really just, again, take our data and really present it to you in a little bit different manner, so you can go out and you can capture anything that you want and get any information that you want. So that we're really, really excited about that.
So I do see one question, and Josh, this may be for me and you. So how do I find the number of rentals without going street by street? I know that there is a rental certification program, and the EnerGov system that Josh was mentioning, that's where that program I believe is mentioned, unless there's a separate system that does that now. So there, I believe that information is available. Josh, do you know off the top of your head if you could search?
So you can't currently search for it. You can certainly FOIA it, as you mentioned earlier with the FOIA process. We're actually exploring looking at a piece of software that would provide that exact answer. So it's in the making. It's not there yet, but we're trying to get EnerGov live first. It will come, but you can certainly FOIA that information at any point. I know it's a bit of a hassle, but it's currently not available other than through FOIA.
And the next question is wanting to see a list of all the parks that have barbecue grills instead of having to inspect the description page of parks one at a time. This is something that we've actually talked about in the redesign, finding a way to be able to look at the park's amenities to find the parks that have them versus going to the park to see what amenities they have. So this is something that we are considering for the redesign, or as we go into the redesign.
And Kevin, you can take that back to the team, that feedback back to the team, to see if
Absolutely.
we can. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, we were planning on that.
Okay. And we got another one.
I think that's just a comment to help the other person interested. Yeah.
I think that was a comment from the person. So he was saying
gotcha.
he downloads the data street by street and puts it together himself. So it's great that he's putting our data together.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, unless there's anything else, it's my turn again. So what I want to talk about is collaboration. So I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but you know, we have a data center. We have 2 data centers, one in the Justice Center in downtown and one at Wheeler Center. And Washtenaw County actually shares our data center with us. So anytime that we can collaborate with others and try to gain economies of scale, to save money, to become more efficient, we want to do it. So Washtenaw County, their systems run in the same data center as our systems run. We also share licensing for the enterprise content management system, which Kevin referred to, which is which allows us to pursue a paperless environment, store things electronically, and actually move things electronically through workflow. So we share in the cost of that, and our storage as well. Years ago, we purchased a system, and we're actually separate but integrated when it comes to our storage. We are both in the process of really going our own ways on our storage right now, but as it sits today, we still share the storage in the data center. Shared internet services. This is something that we do. So if you're at the county, or if you're at the city, or if you're at the RIDE, the AATA, we all have an agreement with our ISP to share our internet services, and we all use the same connection, aggregate connection for our internet services. And then GeoCortex licensing. Again, this is another application where we share the licenses. The county uses some of the licenses that we currently have, so they don't have to go purchase a whole new system. It's a lot less expensive for them to just buy licenses and to piggyback onto what we do. And then ONSSI licensing, which are video cameras. The county has a lot of video cameras in place. The city has a lot of video cameras in place, and all the software that runs that and all the licensing that runs that, we collaborate on that and we share the cost on that. So we always do this. We continue to do this. Anytime we can look to collaborate with somebody for the benefit of the community, we try to do so. And then in our data center, we do have some additional space in our data center. And in addition to Washtenaw County, we have some systems in there from the AATA. The Downtown Development Authority has some components in our data center. The Ann Arbor District Library, as well as the U of M for their the University of Michigan traffic connected traffic system. So again, we're always looking for ways to collaborate and be more efficient. Let's see here. We have a question.
It looks like touching on Kevin's question about things for the website. So would love to cross match rentals with property tax. Now it's something they do manually.
Okay. All right. So the next thing is the community fiber optics network. So in 2017, the city built their own fiber network that goes around the city and also has a bisector down the middle of it. It's about 45 miles in total length. And what it does is it services all of our buildings. And we have 30 to 40 buildings. And then at the same time, what we did is when we built the network, we put additional capacity in there so we could lease dark fiber to others. And so what we do is the AATA, the DDA, Downtown Development Authority, the Ann Arbor District Library, and Merit Networks, they all lease fiber on our network. Now this community network is one of our networks that we have. Traditionally, we have a fiber network that also runs our traffic control system, all the lights and the intersections around the city as well. So what we're doing now is we're actually building 2 additional networks to further densify the fiber in the area. And I'll get into why we're going to be doing that. But in the picture that you see on your left there is the DDA district of the downtown area for the city. And we are building fiber. We're putting, what you see all the lines, you get your blue lines, your red lines, your green lines, all of that fiber and conduit is being put in as we speak, and it should be done in September. So what this is designed to do, it's designed to, and we're going to put a 432 count fiber cable in there that's expandable to 3,500 count fiber. And what it's going to do, it is going to run in close proximity to every single building in the DDA district. So if anybody wants fiber to that building, it's just a matter of tapping in very, very close, more than likely in a sidewalk or down an alley into the building to bring that in. So the foundation, and this costs about $5 million to do this, and this is grant funded by the LDFA. And the reason for that is to really promote economic development, to help bridge the gap in the digital divide, to be able to support smart city applications in the city, to connect sensors to them, and really use technology and really promote competition amongst ISPs like your Comcast, your AT&Ts, and give people choices and give people options. So in order to do all that, you have to have a good foundation, and that's what we're building. And everything from that point on, it really makes things possible. And it makes things a lot less expensive for the people that want to use the fiber and want to connect to the fiber. So that project is going on. And then we're also in the process of building, if you see the picture on the right, we're building another network that really connects the smart zone in Ann Arbor to the smart zone in Ypsilanti. And so you see a path going down a main artery, more than likely Washtenaw. It'll be coming back up Packard, but it will connect the two communities together. And again, we will be putting a fiber backbone down there so people can attach to it, whether it be ISPs like Comcast or whether it be businesses. It will be made available. All of this fiber will be owned by the city. It's maintained by the city. And it will be, and we're working on our cost models right now to be able to lease the Stark fiber. The whole goal is to make things possible and provide an asset to everybody that is very, very cost effective, so they can do what they need to do from a high-speed internet perspective. Okay, and so there was a comment about the project sounds really exciting. It is very, very exciting. We are just very, very excited because it really is the foundation for all putting in smart street lights and putting in environmental sensors around the city, and allowing incubators to come in and get affordable internet access, and putting up some public Wi-Fi. So a lot of things are going to be possible, and really moving to we call it a digital transformation. It's really replacing the old infrastructure with a new infrastructure that is connected to a network. So in the case of a street light, we have a bank of 75 street lights that have smart street light heads in them. They're connected to a network, and we're able to monitor them. We can do it from our cell phones. We can tell whether the light is functioning, whether it's broken. We can tell whether it's degrading. We can tell how much power it uses. We can get all these statistics from these devices. And the goal is, if you have the foundation, you can connect these devices, you can get the data. And that goes back to what we talked about on our business intelligence platform. We can deliver that data back to the business unit so they can make good business decisions on how to run their operations. And then it can lead to cost savings and things like that. So it all comes full circle with all of this in place. Okay, so there's a question here: can condos or homes attach to the network? No. Put it this way: anybody can attach to the network. Anybody can use the fiber. So as I mentioned before, the city, the IT department can only provide fiber to the city. We can't light the fiber to anybody else. We can lease the dark fiber to allow somebody else to get to your home or get to your condo, but we, the city, cannot do it. And I'll give you an example and I'm not saying it's not possible, but we don't have any intentions of doing that. But the network that we're building and the foundation we're putting in will allow it to happen. It may happen through other people, but that's the neat thing about this, is that we're building the foundation so you can build off of it. So that can be a possibility. So in Chattanooga, Tennessee, years ago they went to court because they were not allowed to provide fiber to the home. and they spent about $14 million in legal services to really win over, to really win that case. And right now they have, and this is really is in their, it's in their utility. They have fiber going to every single high-speed fiber going to every single home in Chattanooga, Tennessee, every single home. So it is possible. It's just a matter of, do you want to be in that business, and do you want to spend the effort to try to make it happen? All right, let's see here. Will the U of M be a possible client to this fiber optic network? I hope so. I am actually in conversation with them. And again, this is being built for the community, and we want the community to use it. And so I am actively in conversations with them on making that happen. I'm the holdup. They're waiting for me to get some pricing from them, but absolutely, we hope that they're a tenant on the fiber. And could we lease dark fiber to an ISP? Yes, we should be able to, as long as as long as it's approved by council, we absolutely could. And I think I got the first one, Jen, with the individual households. They could tap into it through somebody else, but not through the city. And does Comcast have a fiber optic network already? And are other providers, are there other providers who built the cabling? Yes, there are. So our network, actually, before we built our network, Comcast was our provider, but we had an agreement with them, and they chose to terminate the agreement. They would not sell us what they had, so we ended up building our own. And there are other companies like AT&T, 123net, other companies out there that absolutely put fiber in, that are ISPs that can provide it. And, but our goal is really to promote competition and to give more choices to people. And hopefully, if we do that, it will be more cost effective and hopefully faster, for the money that you spend on your internet service. Okay, next slide, Jen. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about IT governance. So all the presentations that happened before, there's this model here is really kind of depicts how we do things in the IT department. And if you notice the middle block, which is really everything surrounds the city's mission, vision, and guiding principles. Everything that we do needs to be in alignment with that. If you go up to the top, the IT department, we also have our mission, vision, and guiding principles. And if you go to the right, we also have a technology plan that we do every 2 years. So we sit down with all of our businesses, like was mentioned before. We meet with our departments on a regular basis, proactively meet with them on a regular basis to talk about projects and issues and problems and the status of what's going on as it relates to our service to them. So every 2 years we sit down, and actually we're in the process of doing it right now for fiscal 23 and 24. We do strategic planning, and we sit down with our departments and we say, okay, over the next couple of years, what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? What's being expected of you? And we get out ahead of it, and we put a plan together based on what they tell us, and that really is our to-do list for the next couple of years. And so this document is provided. It's really an internal document, but it aligns with the mission of the city. It aligns with the mission and vision of the IT department as well as the department. And we discuss it, and really we plan on doing everything we talk about in the time frame that the customer wants to do it, our business units. So that's really, really important that we do that. And then I'm going to go over to the left, which is our project delivery methodology. So there's a lot of work that goes on in the city. If you look at the help desk, they're mostly reactive. People will have issues, they'll have problems, they'll call things in. But we also have a lot of projects that go on, and we have a project portfolio where we manage all the projects that come in. And the IT department, what we do is, 50% of what we do is we work with the business units on their operations. And IT is an enabler. So when we sit down with our business units, we ask them what their problem is. We ask them what their issue is, what their opportunity is. And we start with that first before we start going into IT. And we define all that. And we use a project delivery methodology to make sure that we're defining what the scope of the project, what the current environment is, what the needs and the requirements are of the customer. And then from there on, then we'll help develop a solution and implement the solution for our customers. So we use that repetitively on small, medium, and large size projects. But it's very, very important that we do that, because when we're done with the project, we want to make sure that all the customers' needs are being met. And if the needs aren't being met after we implement the project, then there's a problem. And this helps us mitigate it. But it's just a very, very good way, I believe, of really solving problems in an orderly fashion. And then I wanted to share with you a couple quotes, because these are really important. They're near and dear to me, which is it's literally true that you can succeed best and quickest by helping others succeed. So we're servants. We serve the city. We serve our employees. We serve the city. We serve the community. And that's why we're here. And it's very, very important that we're here, and our mission is to help others. And then when the team outgrows individual performance and learns team confidence, excellence becomes a reality. We are, even though you see a lot of different areas of the IT department, we are one team. And the reason we have those areas is really just to define roles and responsibilities so we don't step on each other's toes. And there's a lot of communications that goes on between us. And we just have a wonderful team, and everybody gets along and everybody shares. And we have our problems like everybody else, but I really believe our team subscribes to these quotes. Let's see. Okay, so strategic planning. So I talked about that a little bit. So every 2 years we do strategic planning. It is documented into an IT technology plan. And then the other thing that we're doing, and this kind of goes into the fiber network and the foundation, the business intelligence platform, all the process, business engineering process that we're doing, the work that Dave does with the network, the work that Jen does. All of this is really just doing a digital transformation in the city. So, and start implementing things that utilize technology that make things better. So, nowadays you can put a sensor on just about anything, a water pipe, a sewer pipe. I was in a conference last week where the city of Cincinnati, they have a huge issue with their stormwater. And for them to build, find the capital dollars to replace these systems, it's just not feasible. It's just way, way too expensive. So what they do is they use smart cities technologies to put balloons in their stormwater system that diverts water in the case of a storm. So it's intelligent, they can divert it, they know how much water's coming in, where it's going. So it's things like that we can do in the city when we replace our infrastructure, and we want to make sure that we utilize the technology to be able to do things like that. And then the last thing is really, it's all about organizational change management. And that's working as a team to integrate technology, systems, processes, and data to achieve operational excellence, efficiency, cost savings. And really, it comes down to providing exceptional customer service, both to internal customers as well as the community. So, so that's kind of, that's kind of how we do things. We just don't go out and do things. We really have the methodology and some disciplines in place to hopefully that we're hitting the mark with our customers. So, let's see, we have a question here. Are there other U.S. or international small cities that are considered leaders for their IT innovation applications, et cetera? If so, what are some of those accomplishments that might be of interest in Ann Arbor? It just really depends on where. There's a lot of cities that are innovative. I'm trying to think of. I mean, if you go to San Francisco. San Francisco is. I talked to the CIO a few weeks ago, and what they're doing is they have about 35,000 people in the city that are underserved when it comes to high-speed broadband. And what they're doing is they're actually putting the fiber in, building it. They're becoming an ISP like a Comcast, and they're going to provide the service directly to them, to those constituents. I mentioned Cincinnati. I'm trying to think of some other areas. Some other cities like Aurora, Illinois, they work with public-private partnerships to get the capital to build fiber optic networks around the city so people can access them and people can lease them. In Pittsburgh, they have a parking system where they have cameras placed around their parking spots that point down to them. And then what they do is they use artificial intelligence and machine learning to be able to determine how long a car has been there, and capture capacity information. So that what they can do is they can say, okay, well, this street's always busy and this street's never busy. And when people come in this time of the, people come in at this time of the day, maybe we should start diverting some people over here where they're not parking, so people aren't getting frustrated to be able to park in a spot that maybe is a couple blocks over. So what those cameras do is they allow to see what the patterns are for parking, and then they adjust. Then they can also adjust rates. So if everybody's parking in one spot, they may jack up the rates, and then they may lower the rates in other places where they're not parking. And again, you can connect all those to an application when you come into the city, and it can tell you where the spots are available, what the rate is, and all this is done through cameras and artificial intelligence and machine learning. So those are just a couple examples. There's a lot of cities that are doing a lot of really, really cool things, and I hope that helps. Let's see. The concept of organizational change management is interesting. Can you describe how that is structured and give some examples of change management in action? Well, again, change management is, if you take the EnerGov project that Josh was talking about, the new land management and permitting system, we had an application in here for over 10 years that really wasn't serving us very well. And what we did is we used our project delivery methodology to sit down with the customer and to say, when it's time, when are we going to have the money to be able to replace this system, and really sit down with them and understand the current environment. So they spent a lot of time examining, what worked well in the current system, what didn't work well in the current system, before we went out and we started developing an RFP and gathering requirements and putting the requirements in the RFP to make sure we're getting a system that we want and the system that we need. But the whole methodology that I described before is really about organizational change management. So Kevin Iyer, who works a lot with our public services area, we mentioned the CityWorks application, which is one of our largest. It's our maintenance application for the city. It spans a lot of different departments in a lot of different areas, and getting those departments to get away from manual processes and using the system in an automated way, eliminating duplicate entry. Kevin has done that 7-8 times in a project that he's working on out there. So you have people writing stuff down manually. They bring it to somebody else that's internal. They input into a system. Then it's given to somebody else. They input it into another system. Now it's inputted out in the field. It comes in, and then Josh's team writes the integrations to our financial system and our asset management system, and connects all the data together. So it's only happening once. So those are just some examples of what we consider organizational change management. Is that, I don't know if that helps. Okay, so the last slide I had, I talked about IT challenges. So we didn't talk much about COVID, but so when COVID hit, and I'm really, really proud of the IT department. When COVID hit, we got everybody out in 2 weeks, and everybody was working from home. And it was, I remember Marcus and I, Marcus, he just started in the organization. He's only there a couple of weeks. And I spent like 2 weeks with him, and then we didn't see each other for over a year, I don't think, other than being virtual. So COVID has been a challenge, but I will tell you that our jobs really haven't changed that much. How we do things have changed, but our team was able to get everybody out and get them functioning and getting them productive at home, and really didn't miss a beat as far as city services go. We've adopted new products. like Zoom. We never used Zoom prior to this happening. We never did virtual meetings prior to this happening. We have to deal with our end users' home internet now, which is something that's different. So so teleworking is on this list here. It's kind of challenging because sometimes we don't control somebody's internet connection at home, and it causes problems. So COVID has been I think we reacted really, really well, and I don't think the city missed a beat as far as the services go. So from the other issue that we're having is supply chain. We have a lot of projects that we're waiting for, and it's just hard to get product. And they're pushing dates out. So it's in most cases it's not a problem. We just have to wait a little bit longer. But the supply chain issue is it's just prevalent. Everything that we do, getting computers, there was a time there we couldn't get laptop computers at all. And so we had to improvise and we had to do different things. But the team really did that along the way to keep people working. And then cost increases, our laptop prices have doubled. And cost increases and inflation across the board, everything is so much more expensive these days. And then resource and vendor availability, the technical support that we get from our contractors and our vendors, the availability of our vendors, everybody's suffering. And IT is one of those areas where you just can't find enough people. There's more spots available than there are people to fill them. And then the great resignation that's going on, some people are choosing not to go back to work. They're going to stay home because they can, because a lot of businesses are allowing people to stay home. And we're going to continue to have a hybrid environment at the city, and we're going to continue to work from home. And when people want to come in, they can come in. But some people have to go in because of their job, and other people can still work from home, and they can be just as productive, if not more productive. So there's some good aspects to it. So other than that, I think that's all I had. Jen, what's next? Okay, questions. Any questions at all for the team?
While we're waiting for questions, I wanted to add that I work with all these people every day. I have meetings with them every week. We go through stuff all the time. And then when we have this public event, I relearn how crazy their jobs are. And it's insane. Like, I sit here just as amazed as you probably are, because I think I know what they're doing. And then I sit here gobsmacked. So yeah, this is fun.
All right, we got another one for you, Jen.
Okay, question we have coming in. How does IT protect itself from ransomware and other malware threats? Any war stories? Relatedly, can you describe the city's IT disaster recovery plan? Ransomware protection is really about layering product after product after product. It's really been interesting to me over the years, the amount of services that I've been implementing for us to help keep us safe. It's definitely an uphill battle. I can remember we had several years ago, before ransomware became super common, we did have a couple of small outbreaks, and that was when the antivirus products weren't quite as mature to stop it. Thankfully, it was all a matter of either IT saw it very quickly, the end users reported it very quickly. We were always in a good position. We really put a lot of effort into our backup efforts. That we go through our systems, and twice a year we run through about 15 different resource scenarios to verify that we can recover data in certain instances. So if we had a small ransomware outbreak, what would happen is we would stop the outbreak and we would restore all the data. So we weren't considering paying ransoms or losing data. We were able to clean the systems, get the data back, and no threat was there. As far as city's disaster recovery plan, that is an ongoing effort that we look at regularly. We are now looking at exploring our different cloud solutions to help us consider, in the event of a catastrophe in our data centers, that we can possibly be looking outside of the local geography of the city limits, that we can be restoring things to some of the big cloud providers to help keep city business up and running.
Yeah, and from that, Jen, you want to mention our backup capacity in the case of a disaster. We have multiple copies of our data, and we have data. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So the way we run systems is, thankfully, we have a wide variety of levels of protection. So the majority of our servers run on what's called a storage area network. So think of that as like a giant set of hard drives. That system in and of itself has what we call snapshots. So the disks themselves have backups. Then we have a separate backup system. That separate backup system has multiple pieces of hardware in different city buildings. So we've got protections in the data center in second locations. Then at that point, we take copies of the data and we load it to cloud services. So even if we had a severe catastrophe in the terms of the network, we're protecting the data in other geographic areas to help keep us safe and to preserve all of our city data.
Yeah, and our strategy on a ransomware attack is doubtful that we would pay a ransom. So the good thing about the city, we are not that big, okay, compared to other jurisdictions and other even businesses. So what we do is we want to make sure that we protect our data. We want to make sure that we have good data that we can recover from in the case of a ransomware attack. And then the other thing too is that when you pay ransoms, you're not necessarily guaranteed for them to leave breadcrumbs in your system to further attacks in the future. So, I mean, what we're thinking is if we get a ransomware attack, we're refreshing everything, is what we're going to do. So, and then there's another question. The question was, what do I think is the most important function of the IT department, and then everyone else needs to comment on it as well. So my answer to that is strong relationships and great customer and employee satisfaction. Hands down, we're in the customer satisfaction business. We might be IT people, but we're business people, we're technologists, but we're customer service first before anything else. And if we don't keep our customers happy, nothing else really matters. That is our focus. And I will tell you that this is the most customer service oriented team I've ever worked with. And everybody truly has, truly cares about our customers and our community, and it's reflective of their job. We're not perfect. We're not always going to do the right thing all the time, but I will tell you, we have great teams. So I'll leave it to the rest of you guys to comment on that question.
Well, I'll say.
So I'll go ahead and.
Oh yeah, please go.
Sorry, Marcus.
No, go ahead, Josh.
So first of all, thank you for the kind words for everybody, and thank you for attending this. This is always a lot of fun to be able to tell the stuff that we get to do every day. So for me, I'd like to echo what Tom said about building relationships with customers. We mentioned that technology has become so pervasive across the organization, and as you can imagine, it's great when it works, but it's awful when it doesn't. And some of my favorite days are when people call you and they can't do their job, or they're so upset because something's not working right, and you have the ability to go in and fix something for them. It could be small, it could be big, it doesn't really matter, but by the time you leave, for the most part, we're pretty good at fixing things. And by the time you leave, you leave that person with a smile on their face because, the rest of their job may still be stressful, but you have fixed a little tiny piece of it so that they can go on about their day. So that's one thing. And then a secondary item to that is, and then you might think is, I mentioned earlier about our governance structure and how, we spend a lot of time embedded with our customers. And another thing that I absolutely love is when they come to us with that, I know this is a crazy idea, but, and then they kind of lay something out and never thinking that you may actually take it on or that you could actually do it. And, could be weeks later, could be months later, but you find yourself back at that spot and you're able to actually implement something that they originally thought was a crazy idea. I just love being able to do that for people. So that's my story.
Well, dang, you literally said better than what I was going to say. But yeah, I honestly, I love helping people. This isn't a way for Tom to give me no pay because I'm not motivated by money. I'm motivated by helping people, that doing what I can do, no matter if it's small or large, really is so satisfactory. It changes my makeup. I really, that's why I do this specific part of IT. I mean, you could be like Kevin in the programming, you could be like the apps team and all of the coding. And I just like being with the end users and helping them get through and do what they're supposed to be doing for the city. That's where it comes from for me.
I will go and provide my input on this. So what I like best about working at the city is I've been at the city for close to 15 years at this point. And before working for IT for the city, I worked for IT in healthcare and in aerospace. And it is amazing to me the challenges that we face in government, the breadth of what we support. I've been here 15 years and I still learn things that we do for the community day in and day out. And whether it's, talking about a cemetery application that we have or the technology that we have out at the airport. When the pandemic hit, I worked very heavily with the clerk's office on the Zoom process to help boards and commissions conduct city business virtually when the pandemic limited in-person meetings. I'm constantly learning about the different facets that the city is providing in services to the citizens. And it's such an eye-opener, and it's just so rewarding to be a part of all these different functions that a lot of times us as residents, we take for granted or we don't even understand it's happening. And I just love the learning that I get to do that while I'm providing my technology service, how much I'm getting to see about what the organization is doing as a whole for the community.
I'll jump in. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been at the city for almost 17 years. And, from when I started to where we are today, our network is just, it's leaps and bounds over what I entered into years ago, and just like my other, coworkers saying is, this is the best team I've ever worked with. We all work close together. We all believe in each other, and whatever we want to do, we make it happen, and, Tom's there on the top and he helps us all along the way and gives us the tools and resources to do what we need to do. But I have a little analogy that I build the road for the city. I can't, these teams can't do what they do without me laying down that road and providing the fastest, smoothest road that I possibly can, which will allow, them to, from Jen and her servers and Jason or Josh and Kevin for the applications and Marcus with the help desk and supporting all of our end users. It's just, it's a great team to work for. And, the best part is it's not the same thing every day. You walk in, it's different. We get to push the technology to the limits. And, that's just the part of the job that I absolutely love. The city's a great place to work for.
So I would echo that, Dave. Definitely. The city has talented staff and they're so kind and good to work with. As Tom mentioned before, the IT department is the funnest department in the city, and we work hard and we also have fun. I was also in the private sector before, and I enjoyed my time there, but moving to the city and doing what I do here and being able to serve my local community is very rewarding. It gets me out of bed every morning and gets me motivated. And lastly, as far as like my everyday tasks, I really enjoy solving complex business problems through technology and business process. Going in to chaos and complexity and creating systems and simplicity is very rewarding for me.
Okay, that's our story, and we're going to stick to it. Maybe until tomorrow, until everything blows up. Right now, I'm just kidding. Any other questions for the group? Thank you for the comments. Thank you for allowing us to do this. We enjoy it every year. We enjoy it. So.
I think that's it. So I just want to thank each and every one of you so much. I bother them weekly, so I very much appreciate everything that you do for all of us. If me being literally I don't know anything about technology, so I would not be able to move a mouse if it wasn't for y'all. I really appreciate you guys.
Awesome.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, of course. All righty, everyone. So thank you so much, IT department. This was great. And I will see everybody next week where it will be sustainability. In person will be Wheeler Center. And we got 2 more meetings, y'all, and then we're done with this season.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. Have a
Bye,
great night.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.